Now I'm going to show you a couple of stills of vice cops and raiding gambling places. And these are old school ones, but I'm going to come back and talk about this. Right when we got to San Leandro in 1965, Woody's Liquor, my dad was already working for my uncle, and it was not at 1812 7th Street. 1812 was a vacant lot. Now, next door was where the liquor store was, and my uncle bought the empty lot and had a purpose-built liquor store built for him. And then they moved next door. Well, the people who moved into the now vacant space was a social club. Now, you got to understand, in the African ancestor community, to my understanding, obviously, I don't know everything about this, but the social club is where you go, and it's a private club, and you go in, and you probably drink, and you gamble, and well, everybody on God's green earth knew what was happening in the place. Well, my dad had the number for next door. So, and they're right on 7th Street now, and so when the Oakland Vice cops would start showing up out in front, blocking the traffic, and they're setting up to make a raid, my dad would call next door and say, "Hey guys, this is Don from next door, and you're going to get raided in about 5 minutes." Well, that was enough time to hide everything and pick up all the drugs and shit, and so, my dad and these guys kind of sort of had an understanding. My dad's looking out for them, and the exchange is that they're not going to cause problems in the store. I thought it was a fair exchange. Well, one day, one of the idiots next door walks in the store, and now the liquor bottles are behind the counter, and, he gets his bottle, and my dad, he asks my dad for a bottle, and the guy doesn't pay. He walks out, and now my dad, knows who this guy is, and the guy walks out and walks into the social club next door. Well, my dad can't tolerate this. This is unacceptable. So my dad walks out right behind him, knocks on the door, and they look in the peephole. They see it's my dad. They open up the door. My dad just walks right in, and it goes right to the guy and some of the guys who actually ran the social club, and just basically said, "I will not allow your members to steal from me after I warn you countless times about vice raids." He said, "This is just unacceptable." And the guys who ran the social club kind of had they made the guy give the bottle back, and then they said to my dad, "We'll take care of it." And my dad walked out, and my dad said he never saw the guy in the store again, and he got told kind of secondhand that, somebody took a goddamn beating for it, and rightfully that they should have. Now, I got a different story about down there. Next door to the social club was Martin's, and Martin's was one of these old school cafes. And before I got my paper route, I was a freshman in high school when I got my paper route. So, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I would go down with my dad on Saturday mornings. My dad worked a half a day on Saturdays. And I would, help. I'd run the register, and I'd, stock the bottles, and my dad would buy me breakfast. Well, the first time we went down to Martin's, he walked me down because I stand out like a sore thumb in that neighborhood. So we walked in. I'm 11 or 12 years old, and they, acknowledge my dad, and my dad introduces me as his son, and it was never his stepson. It was always his son. And So, the people of Martin's know who I am. So I would walk down the Martins and I'd order breakfast and they'd let me bring back, not in a to-go box, but on goddamn China and, shit. So I'd walk back, 2 doors over and I'd eat in the back and I'd bring them the plate back and it was all good. Well, one day I walk in the Martins and one of the other guests kind of starts saying something about my, why I'm in the neighborhood and why I'm in Martin's, and he got about 2 sentences out, and these the ladies behind the counter looked at him and said, "Hey, that's Don's son. We don't we're not having this." And then the guy like, ooh, shit, okay. So, God, I love breakfast more than I love dinner. I love breakfast. God, breakfast is just the best. So that's at least 2 stories from 1812. Oh, I got one more. Jesus. They were a Bay Alarm customer. And when I was working nights, I was still training, it seems to me. And we had gone way down 7th Street. We had the bait shop way at the end of 7th Street, even past the Army base, was one of our accounts. So we drive down there, at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just because. So we're driving back up 7th Street, and I hear we hear an alarm bell ringing. Now, we had what was called local alarms. And all it did was that the alarm bell rang. It didn't dial in a signal. So when we heard a bell ring, we would drive and see, if it was ours or not. And well, we're driving by Woody's and we hear the bell and, I know it's ours. So even before we got dispatched by our dispatchers, we pull around to the front and I throw the ladder up on top and we climb up on the roof and there is just a mountain of liquor bottles up there. And my dad told a story when I told him this. He said one year they had a real heavy rainstorm and somehow a bottle got stuck in the drain pipe until so much pressure built up behind it that it shot the bottle out like a bullet and just wave of water came off the roof. It's like, damn, they're lucky the roof didn't fall in. So this is 7 minutes and probably way too long, but those are my 3 stories about Woody's Liquor. Thank you for watching Storytime with Joe, and enjoy your day.